I counted afterward, opened the trade ticket, filled in the size, moved the cursor to confirm, deleted it. I did that 17 times, not 6, not 10, 17. Like some part of me needed to make sure the number was embarrassing enough to remember. The setup was clean, textbook even. I've seen this pattern maybe 100 times across different pairs, different sessions, different versions of the same market doing the same thing it's always done. I know what it does next. Not always. Nothing is always. But enough times that the probability is real and not something I'm just telling myself. I had the entry level. I had the stop. I had the target written on a sticky note and stuck to the corner of the monitor. Everything was there. The only thing missing was me. I kept telling myself I was being disciplined, that I was waiting for confirmation, that one more candle would tell me something the last 20 couldn't. That's the thing about fear. It learns to speak in the same voice as patience, same cadence, same vocabulary. And if you're not paying close attention, you'll believe it every single time. I've been doing this long enough to know the difference. I still got fooled. Subu was quiet this morning. The kind of quiet that makes you aware of how much noise usually lives inside your head. I did the 2 raka, sat for a while after, forehead still on the sajada. I wasn't praying anymore at that point. I was just not moving. Sometimes that's enough. A few minutes where nothing is required of you except to exist in the same room as yourself without running from it. I made the coffee before the adhan was fully gone from the air. Black, no sugar. I know I mention this like it means something about my character, but it's just what I drink. I don't know when it became a thing. The chart was already open from last night. I'd left it running, USD 4-hour, the same pattern I'd been watching since Tuesday. It hadn't broken, hadn't faded, just sitting there fully formed, patient in a way I wasn't. There's something almost insulting about a clean setup, like the market has already done its part and is now just waiting for you to do yours. My neighbor's TV came through the wall at about 5:40, a game show, someone winning something. I could hear the audience react, that specific crowd sound when luck lands on someone who isn't you. I turned the monitor brightness down a little, as if that would help me think. I opened the trade ticket at 6:03, filled in the size, 0.50 lots, reasonable. Moved the cursor to confirm, deleted it, made myself drink some coffee, already lukewarm. Opened the ticket again. The second time I filled it in, I changed the lot size. 0.30. Smaller. Safer. I told myself it was position sizing discipline. It wasn't. It was a man negotiating with his own fear, trying to find the number where the possibility of being wrong hurts less. That's not risk management. That's just cowardice with a spreadsheet. Deleted it. I pushed back from the desk, stood up, walked to the kitchen, opened the refrigerator without any real reason. Cold air. Half a container of leftover rice from 2 nights ago. A bottle of water I keep forgetting to finish. I stood there looking at it like the answer was somewhere between the rice and the back wall. Closed it, went back to the desk, sat down, opened the ticket. This went on. I won't account for every one of the 17. That would take longer than the actual session. But the shape of it was always the same. Open, fill, hover. Something inside me would shift, pull back, and I'd press delete like pressing it fast enough might mean I never really meant to press confirm anyway. There's a version of this that looks like caution. From the outside. If someone were watching, which no one was, which is the only reason I can write this, it might have looked like a trader being careful. Working through his process. Respecting the market. That's not what it was. My phone buzzed around 7, my older sister. A voice note, 12 seconds. I played it with the phone face down on the desk, her voice coming through muffled, something about my nephew's school registration, something about a document she needed scanned and sent before noon. I typed back, "Done. Send me the file." She sent 3 files. One of them was a PDF I couldn't open. I spent 11 minutes finding an app that could open it, scanned it with my phone camera in the kitchen light, sent it back, and she replied with a heart emoji. 11 minutes. The candle moved while I was doing that. Not dramatically, but enough that the entry I'd been watching was now 3 pips past where I'd wanted to get in. 3 pips shouldn't matter at the scale I'm working. 3 pips is noise. But the human brain doesn't process 3 pips as noise when it's also processing 17 deleted tickets and lukewarm coffee and the lingering feeling that maybe the setup is just slightly less perfect than it was 20 minutes ago. I use the 3 pips as a reason. That's the word for it, reason. I gave it that name. Clean. Logical. Entry moved, spread too wide now, wait for a pullback. I wrote it in the journal. Actually wrote it down. Like documentation for a decision that was really just an exit from a situation I'd already made uncomfortable for myself. The journal entry took 4 sentences. The trade ticket had been opened 11 times by then. The sun was properly up by 8. That yellow-white light that comes through the gap in the curtain and hits the corner of the monitor in a way that makes everything slightly harder to read. I angled the screen, moved my chair, opened the ticket for the 12th time. I had been awake for 2.5 hours. I had drunk 1.5 cups of coffee. I had helped my sister with paperwork, stood in front of an open refrigerator for reasons I still can't fully explain, and I had not yet made a single trade. The pattern was still there. The 13th time I opened the ticket, I left it open. Didn't fill in the size, just looked at the entry price. Watched the number tick, 1 pip, back, 1 pip, again. Markets breathe at their own rhythm, and I've never been able to explain to anyone who doesn't already know what it feels like to watch a price you've been tracking for 3 days just move in real time, like it's alive and disinterested simultaneously. I filled in the size. 0.40 lots. Not the original 0.50, not the negotiated 0.30, something in between. The number of someone who still hadn't fully decided, moved the cursor to confirm, sat there. My jaw was tight. I noticed it the way you notice something that's been happening for a while but you've only just become aware of. The way you realize a sound has been in the room for 10 minutes before your brain registers it as a sound. My back teeth were pressed together, not clenching, just closed, the kind of tension that doesn't announce itself. I breathed out through my nose, deleted it. The 14th time I told myself, if the pattern holds through this next candle, I go in, that's it. 1 candle, then I decide. Then, the candle held. I opened the ticket. 15th, filled in 0.50, back to the original number, which meant nothing except that I'd run out of ways to negotiate with myself. Placed the stop where I'd had it from the beginning, 6 hours ago. Target at the level on the sticky note, the same setup, unchanged. Waiting. 16th, I almost didn't open the ticket this time. I just sat with the cursor near the button and thought about what a researcher does when the data is clean and the methodology is sound and every variable has been accounted for except his own willingness to run the experiment. You run it. That's what you do. You ran 1,000 of them before. You know what the data looks like when it's not clean. It looks different from this. This is clean. Run the experiment. 17th, I confirmed. The fill came through at 6:47 a.m. Entry at 1.8312. Stop 28 pips below. Target 56 pips above. A clean 2-to-1. The kind of setup you'd use in a textbook if you were trying to show someone what discipline looks like when it's functioning correctly. My hands moved off the keyboard. Both of them. Set them in my lap. Not because I was calm, because there was nothing left to do. That's the thing about finally being in a trade after all of that. The silence that follows isn't peace. It's the quiet after the argument is over. Everything is still there, the weight of it, but it's done. And whatever happens now, it happens. I watched the first candle after entry. It moved in my direction, pulled back, moved again. I didn't touch anything, didn't move the stop, didn't adjust the target. My hands stayed where I'd put them. The second candle was slow. 3 pips. 5. 8. Back to 4. I made coffee. Fresh. Let it brew properly this time. Doer came at 12:17. I'd been watching the position for almost 5.5 hours by then. It was up 19 pips. Not at target, not close to target, but green, and moving in the right direction with the kind of slow momentum that suggests the market hasn't changed its mind yet. I did wudu. Water over hands, face, arms, the familiar sequence that requires nothing from me except to do it correctly and in order. No charts in here, no P&L, no sticky note on any wall, just a bathroom with bad lighting and water running cold before it gets warm. I prayed. 2 rak'ah for sunnah, 4 for fard. Sat in the quiet after. When I came back, the position was up 26 pips. I closed it at 31, not at target. 31 out of a planned 56, more than half the target left on the table. I told myself the momentum looked like it was fading, and maybe it was. I had reasons. I can write them out if I want to be dishonest with myself. But the truth is simpler and worse. I was afraid it would come back. That the market would take the 31 away from me. That I would have sat through 6 hours of watching and deleted 17 tickets and finally found the courage to enter, and then it would go negative and I'd have to carry that. So I took the 31. $24 and some change at the lot size I was running. The full target would have been 48. I closed the laptop. Slowly. More slowly than a person closing a laptop has any reason to. Like I was giving myself one more moment to be inside that decision before the lid clicked shut and it became permanent. I went out in the afternoon. Not for any particular reason, groceries maybe, and also just to be somewhere that wasn't the desk. I put the helmet on. The matte black one that's heavier than it looks. Started the motor. The exhaust sound is different when the engine's cold. Lower, a little reluctant. I sat at the traffic light at the end of the street for longer than I needed to. The light had gone green. The car behind me hadn't honked yet. I just sat there for a few seconds, both hands on the handlebar, thinking about 48 pips. Then I went. The market kept moving after I closed, of course it did. I checked when I got back. The pair reached 44 pips from my entry before pulling back. I would have been inside the trade for that. Would have seen it. Would have had to decide what to do about it. Maybe I would have closed at 44 anyway. Maybe 30. Maybe I'd have held all the way to the original target and felt different about the day. I'll never know. That's the specific punishment for exiting early. Not the missed pips, but the not knowing, the wondering. Whether you were right to get out or whether you just ran. Maghrib. The sky outside the window was doing that bruised orange thing it does when the air is thick. I made dinner. Rice, eggs, a bit of soy sauce because I hadn't gone shopping properly in 4 days. Ate, standing at the counter. The plate made a sound against the tile when I set it down too hard. Not on purpose. Just forgot, for a moment, to be careful. I washed the plate. Watched the drain. It's almost 10 now. The journal is open, and the physical one, not the app. The actual notebook with the cover that's starting to peel at the corners. I've been staring at the blank line under today's date for about 8 minutes. What do I write? Entry 1.083 on 2. Exit 1.08543. Result plus 31 pips. That's true. All of that is true. But what do I write about the 17 tickets? About the 6 hours of watching? About the wudu that felt more decisive than any trade execution I made this morning? About the fact that I closed too early, and I knew I was closing too early in real time while I was doing it, and I did it anyway. There's a version of today that is a win. Green trade. Positive account. Executed a real setup. Didn't blow the stop, didn't revenge trade, didn't add to a position out of desperation. By any external measure, today was a functional trading day. The pen is still in my hand. I think about the research I used to do. Controlled experiments. Isolate one variable at a time. The problem with trading, the thing I couldn't see from inside academia, and that I cannot unsee from inside this apartment, is that the variable you're trying to isolate is yourself, and you are not a controlled substance. You cannot run the same experiment twice, because the second time, you know what happened the first time. And that changes everything. I put the pen down. Pick up the kankir. The coffee is cold again. 31 pips. I said I wasn't going to count the ones I left behind. I've already counted them 3 times. I don't know if the problem is that I'm not disciplined enough to enter, or if I'm not patient enough to hold, or if both of those things can be true at the same time about the same person on the same day. I think they can. I think I'm the proof. The question I can't shake tonight, the one I'm writing down so I stop circling it in my head, is this. If I can't trust myself to hold a trade I know is right, what exactly am I building here? And how many more deleted entries does it take before that stops being a technical problem and starts being an answer?